First, they came for the communists. And I wasn't a communist, so I didn't say anything. Then they came for the socialists. I wasn't socialist, so I didn't say anything. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I wasn't a trade unionist, so I didn't say anything. And then they came for the Jews, and I didn't say anything. And by the time they came for me, there was no one left to stand up. It's a poem. Hand Mike pens. Handing Mike pens here. We're about to hand Mike some fucking pens. The poem that I'm just read to you guys is called First They Came For. It's by Pastor Martin Mueller. It's I'm not great with pronunciation on these. He's a German guy. Martin Niemöller, whatever it is. And so this is pretty primordial to the idea, like foundational, underlying current of why you gotta stand up and say like, "Hey, I think maybe these guys are doing Nazi stuff, and we should object to that before it gets out of control." Right. So I just wanted to pop in here, hand mics and pens, as we say, in the hands of Mike Pensiverse. Um, I, for whatever reason today, decided to look a little more into that poem. I know there's several versions of it, right? Like sometimes it doesn't say communist, sometimes it doesn't say socialist, sometimes it doesn't say XYZ. And like in like 2020, pretty, like snarkily uh, uh, freestyle my own, and it was like, well, first they came for the Mexicans, but they took our job. Then they came for the Muslims, but 9/11. Then they came for I don't know the LGBT. I don't even remember what I said at the time, but it was like it's never ending. It's ongoing, right? And I mean the BIPOC, fucking every intersectionality, like we're all under the gun 24/7. And this is simply a poem. And I learned this poem in I think 11th grade sociology class. My teacher had it on her wall, like posted one of those like motivational posters. But this one is like, hey guys, sometimes Nazis happen, and if you don't want Nazis to happen, then you should recognize the warning signs. And some of them might be when they come for the communists, and then the socialists, and then the Jews. Like those are Nazis, guys. We didn't recognize it at the time. Like the inference, due to the lack of context, is that this was written by some like meek, like trying a pastor, in the name, but like so he's like a figurehead, an authority of a church, some kind. Like I'm not the most religious person in the world, so I don't know that much, but I know like the head of a church, the pastor, and so like my assumption was, and I didn't say anything, for fear of having my head cut off by the fucking Nazis. So I didn't say anything. But I was very surprised to learn upon further inspection that actually, no, 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 no. This dude was, at least to some extent, perceived as an anti Semite in the 1930s Germany, supported the Nazi Party, right? And this is from the Wikipedia, so I'm not like you know I'm not a scholar, right? But I've known this poem. This poem is always played in my mind, and every time someone is dehumanizing a group of people, like I can't help but hear this poem echo in my brain, and it's my gift, it's my curse, right? But like so anyway, I looked into it further. Like many Protestant pastors, this guy was a national conservative and supported the conservative opponents of the Weimar Republic. Thus, he welcomed Hitler's ascension to power in 1933, believing it would bring a national revival. So, like, Like, what does that sound like, right? Like, literally, this dude supported Hitler as he rose to power because he thought he would, like, help make Germany great again. Like, pretty much, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, man. So he's still making pejorative remarks in 1935. This is the Wikipedia, like I'm saying. So he's making anti-Semitic remarks about the Jews and fucking in 1935. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. So he was like against the Nazification of the Protestant Church as a member of the Protestant Church, and that's what happened. Is eventually they came for him because he was like, "Hey guys, like, what are you doing coming after the fucking Protestant Church? You gotta leave us alone and stuff." And they were like, "Go to a concentration camp," and then he figured it out. But that was already too late in the war. So this whole poem is not actually a poem, but it's an excerpt from a speech that he made or like an address to the fucking congregation in 1946. So that's pretty recently after the end of World War II, after he had been liberated from whatever fucking death camp he was in. So that's to say, like, the poem isn't real. It's not a poem. He never wrote a poem and made it a thing. He is making a speech to the Confessing Church in Frankfurt in 46. And this is a partial translation, but like, if you can see it on the screen, like, okay, I'm going to read it out loud, but I'm just going to read this whole thing. Okay, he says, "The people who were put in the camps then were communists. Who cared about them? We knew it. It was printed in the newspapers. Who raised their voice? Maybe the Confessing Church? We thought, communists, those opponents of religion, those enemies of Christian, should I be my brother's keeper? Then they got rid of the sick, the so called incurables. I remember a conversation I had with a person who claimed to be a Christian. He said, perhaps it's right. These incurably sick people just cost the state money. They are just a burden to themselves and to others. Isn't it best for all concerned if they are taken out of the middle of society? Only then did the church as such take note. Then we started talking until our voices were again silenced in public. Can we say we aren't guilty or responsible? The persecution of the Jews, the way we treated the occupied countries, or the things in Greece, in Poland, in Czechoslovakia, or in the Netherlands that were written in the newspapers. I believe we, confessing church Christians, have every reason to say, mea culpa, mea culpa. We can take ourselves out of it with the excuse that it would have cost me my head if I had spoken out. We preferred to keep silent. We are certainly not without fault, and I ask myself again and again, what would have happened if in the year 1933 or 1934 there must have been a possibility 14,000 Protestant pastors and all the Protestant communities in Germany had defended the truth until their deaths? If we had said back then, it is not right when Hermann Goring simply puts 100,000 communists in the concentration camps in order to let them die. I can imagine that perhaps 30 to 40,000 Protestant Christians would have had their heads cut off. But I can also imagine that we would have rescued 30 to 40 million people because that is what it is costing us now. And God, that speech, this translation, this information, to know that he stood on the wrong side of history until they came to his door, until they put him in a concentration camp. And I was wrong a minute ago when I said that they got him like towards the end. Like, he spent a long time in the fucking concentration camps, dude. I don't know, man. If we're not gonna listen to this guy who basically like said, yeah, take the communists, the Jews, I couldn't care. Whoa, that dude wrote this fucking speech, said these words. So, like, yeah, we might all have some distant relative who has the worst takes, and we know that people like that exist. And we're not them. We just don't want to have our heads cut off by the Nazis. But the Nazis aren't cutting off heads yet. It's just red hats making fun of you for caring about people. They're bullying you, and you're letting the bullies win. And the bullies are letting the Nazis put people in camps. So, where's your line? Where's your red line? I just thought that was really interesting. So, I wanted to pop in and hand like some pens on it. Like, I 100%, 100% perceive that to be like a weak sauce lib who wrote that fucking poem. Like somebody who was just like going along to get along and wasn't going to stand up and have consequences come upon them for standing up for somebody that they knew deserved their brotherhood, their solidarity, their fucking class consciousness, their fucking no war but class war, their fucking Black Lives Matter, fucking murder is wrong, Nazis are bad, corporations aren't people, money isn't speech, abortion is healthcare, healthcare is a human right, trans rights are human rights, free Palestine, free Luigi, no war but class war, bullies go home, hand Mike Pence.